Hello, welcome to What the Flick. Ben's here. This used to be Alonzo, and now it's Ben. Poof, you're Ben, and Tim Gerson's here, and I'm Christy, and they're gonna talk about It Comes at Night, which I was gonna go see. I need to go see it. I hear it's great. Is it great?
Yeah, it's pretty great. I think that's fair to say that it's pretty great. This is the story. It's another post-apocalyptic world story, but it's not nuclear war that has put us in this situation. It's a disease, as you learn as the movie goes along, and it's a family of three. And Joel Edgerton is the star, but this Kelvin Harrison, who plays his son Travis, it feels to me like he is certainly the emotional center of the movie, and really feels like the star of the film. And they are out in the woods, three of who knows how many survivors, maybe 10, maybe 1,000, we don't know, but the world has completely fallen apart. They've boarded up their home, protecting themselves from disease, and whoever out there, other survivors are there, killing people like road warrior. It's a dangerous time in the world. Again, all order has fallen apart. And then a stranger comes into their life, and that sets in course the events of the film.
The door was already open when you got there.
Yeah.
Then who opened it?
I think they're sick.
Put your mask on. Nobody's sick here.
Can't trust anyone but family. You don't get it.
How old are you, Travis?
If they're sick, then I am too.
So this is not a horror movie.
Yeah.
This is your psychological terror movie. And I think it's a distinction, because I kept expecting, especially with the It Comes at Night, they want us to think, right?
There are no jump scares, no?
No, because really the thing that comes at night is terror.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and you got us like a D or D minus, I feel like, from Cinema Score, and I think
Really?
that is because
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know.
Wow, that's tough to achieve.
Yeah, because I think people see the trailers and they think horror movie, and not unlike The Witch, which came out last year from A24 as well, which also got a terrible Cinema Score. I think people sort of think, oh, it's a certain type of horror movie, and instead you get something that I think is really great. I agree with Ben, but it's a much more like a psychological thriller, kind of like this moody chamber piece of these two families living together in this boarded up house, with the plant being essentially decimated because of this disease, and the one family led by Joel Edgerton wondering if they can entirely trust the family.
Yeah, the stranger who comes into the house ends up having a family too. So it's two families. I was trying not to give that away, but you're right. That's a key element. No, but it's a key element. So so it's two families then together in this house, and how they handle being with each other, not knowing whether they are the last 6 people on Earth or if all of Australia continues to be fine. Like, there's really no way to know.
Interesting though that, like KRISHA, Trey Edward Shults' first film, it's all takes place inside of a house, it sounds like, right?
Yes.
I mean, KRISHA was all inside that house.
They go out into the woods around the house
every once in a while, but it's mostly, I mean, I think what Schultz does well in both movies is there's two things. One is there's a claustrophobic sense of being trapped. In this movie, it's even more true than in KRISHA. But I think the other thing that two movies have in common is this idea of families themselves being terrifying, and that being what the horror emanates from. Ben kind of alluded to this, but I think one of the things that's also really strong in the movie is that you don't know from the beginning exactly what's happening, and part of the pleasure of the movie is slowly getting the clues about exactly what's happening, what's happened to the world, how much they don't even know about what's going on.
And you got to pay attention, because there's no big explanation. There are a couple of throwaway lines, that where you realize, oh, that this is how this went down, but we don't. All of a sudden, people started getting sick, and they already lived out here in this sort of remote place, it seems, to begin with. But maybe it was a summer home. We don't know.
We don't even know really where we are on the planet. That's honestly, that's not even.
It's not.
Australia?
It was near a city. No, I mentioned Australia because there's no way to know if a whole other part of the world everything's fine. There's no news. Everyone's dead. Nearly everyone.
Is it like
it's now?
I think it's like now/near future or something like that.
Right.
I mean, all
it's
that
2021.
I mean, all of that stuff is really kind of kept mysterious because I think it's more about the themes of what he's doing.
And it's more about what we're capable of, right? Because then this moment of when we finally get some conflict between these two families, you can see the potential for how awful it could be. Now, we did a podcast last night, old school here, where I ended up talking a fair amount about this movie because given the political setting we're in now, that many things, but my ability to take in content is affected by what's happening in the world in a way that it has never been. I've never had this issue before. So seeing how awful we're capable of being to each other, which this movie does really effectively. I thought at moments, I don't want to watch this. I do not want to be seeing this.
Because it's too close to home right now?
It's too close to home. I mean, it's not, obviously this is not what's happening, but our awfulness is happening, right? Our sort of the wow, I didn't realize this was a country I lived in and we could be this terrible to each other and thoughtless about each other. And this movie is that magnified, but nonetheless, it made me uncomfortable. It actually diminished some of my enjoyment of the movie. All the while,
retroactively.
As it was happening, I was thinking it as I was like, I don't want to be here watching this now. I don't. It was I was upset by it. Now that's a testament to the movie. It moved me emotionally. I know as I'm thinking that, I gotta eliminate this from my thoughts on recommending this movie to people because I don't know that should factor into it, but I think it will, and I think it makes it interesting for people. It might make it feel the way like The Handmaid's Tale, the way The Handmaid's Tale instantly felt more relevant than I think it would have if I'd seen it, if it had showed up 18 months ago.
Did it have that effect on you emotionally too? A sense of dread?
I mean, I think the sense of dread is really strong. I mean, I think Shults, as a filmmaker, he just, with both of his movies, just knows how to use sound design really well to really kind of put you in the heads of his characters and really kind of give you a sense of something bad is going to happen soon. We don't know exactly how, but it will. And I think that that dread from the first moment of this movie is there and sustained kind of throughout. I was able to withstand it, tolerate it. I definitely think it speaks to this idea of, it's one thing that It Comes at Night is not original about is this idea of there's this horrible thing happening out there in the world, but in some ways the things that we do to each other are much worse.
That's right.
And so that's not a new theme, but he does it really well, and he's got a great cast. There's enough nuance in these performances where I think most people watching the movie will assume, okay, this family comes in there, something's going on. There's got to be something, and I'm not going to reveal what that is, but I think most people are led to expect that. And the movie plays with this idea of what exactly is going on? Is there actually anything going on? Is this family to be trusted or are they not? And I think that just that sense, to Ben's point about paranoia and distrust of other people and feeling like you have to kind of take care of your tribe and basically fuck everybody else. I think that the movie speaks to those themes and they're resonant now because of what's going on in the country.
And even though nobody ever talks about it, you see it in Kelvin Harrison Jr.'s reactions to things but sort of the justifications that we make for our actions, these psychological choices we make that I might have to choke the life out of you right now, but I have no choice. I got to protect him. Right? And
that's chilling.
Yeah, it's chilling. So I ended up, I dug it. We should mention real quick some of the rest of the cast though. Carmen Ejogo, is it?
Ejogo?
Ejogo, that's correct.
Yeah, she plays Edgerton's wife. She's great.
She's
Riley Keough is Christopher Abbott's wife.
She's always good.
Everybody's good. Everybody's really good, and it's scary and uneasy, and the dog is even good. Everybody was.
Let me ask you really fast, if I may. How has Shults evolved as a filmmaker from KRISHA? Because that made such a huge splash. That was our choice this past year for breakthrough director.
Our new generation.
And he did so much with so little, and he's so young. That was really exciting to see. How has he evolved with his second film?
I liked KRISHA. I had some issues with it. Like I did feel like I was kind of trapped in that house in a way that kind of got sort of repetitive. We talked about improvisation in terms of rough night. Like that movie I think also kind of suffered from that a little bit. This movie I think is a step up. I think it is more focused, more concentrated. It sustains its mood in a way that's much more suffocating than it was even in KRISHA. I think the performances are better. I think just having more polished professional actors, I think.
Right, that was his family in KRISHA.
That was his family.
Yeah.
I think there's an emotional component because it was his family, and some of that stuff is autobiographical, apparently. But this movie is really, I think it's a real step up. I think there's no sophomore slump in terms of this. Calvin Harrison, that's his name.
The kid, yeah.
I think we should also talk about how good.
Yeah, he's good. He's the star of the movie. He's the.
How old is he?
I don't know.
He's a kid?
No, he's your young adult. He's 22. He looks like he's probably playing 17.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a teenager in the movie, and in some ways, the movie is like a very messed up coming of age tale in a lot of ways because he has been. We don't know how long this virus has been going on. I don't think they mentioned that, and so we don't know how long this kid has sort of lived in these conditions. But a movie that I actually thought of, weirdly enough, was Dogtooth.
Ooh.
Because I mean they're very different stylistically.
I love Dogtooth.
But the thing that they have in common, I love it too. But the thing they have in common is this idea: if you keep a family behind closed doors and there's no outside sunlight that gets in, how messed up a family can get if you don't have external stimulus in a way. And this kid, I think Harrison plays it really well, is really sheltered. And so when this family shows up, it's kind of like all of this new stimulus, and especially the presence of Riley Keough as this young wife of Christopher Abbott is really interesting because it creates all these new dynamics that him living with his parents hasn't experienced.
Yeah, there's this young, attractive woman suddenly moves into the house. Yeah, there's early on the movie opens with a death, and Joel Edgerton goes to bed with Carmen Ejogo and says he'll be okay. He's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And she looks at him and she's like, "You don't really believe that, do you?" And that sort of is no, everything is not fine. And what this kid has had to experience and what he does experience in the movie is not in any way fine.
Yeah, I feel like the things in terms of themes, what kids learn from their parents, what sons learn from their dads. I think that's really kind of strong in this movie. I think there's a lot of male bonding in this movie, in terms of male rituals. I mean, if there's one kind of negative I would say is that I think that the female characters aren't drawn as interesting as the male characters, partly because I think the filmmaker is more interested in the male dynamics and power dynamics going on.
Yeah, but the mom emerges there at the end. There's some that you didn't, which you sort of unexpected. Anyway, it's certainly worth seeing. What'd you give it?
I need to do it. What's your number?
I give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull mine up. It bothered me. It got me. It bummed me out. But you should see it. It's really good. Yeah.
What's your number?
8.6.
Okay, so they're 8.8.
Yeah.
And it's 86% on the tomato meter. I think it was New York and LA last weekend, and it's going wider this weekend.
And it's what we love. It's 88 minutes without credits.
This is why Ben
it moves.
No, the thing moves really beautifully. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna love 47 meters down then. It's also really short. All right, bye.